So I'm Yemi. I'm an aspiring filmmaker, like a lot of people are that use my first job in film. I used to be the producer's assistant for a film production company called Misfits, but now I'm actually still in the same industry, but changing my career path in directing. I'm going to be directing a feature doc with, it's really weird because I didn't think that's where my career would lean into, but it's kind of like crossing those bridges once you get there. And as you kind of develop and evolve as a filmmaker, some opportunities will come along where, you can't say no, or it's something that you never realized you always wanted to do. So yeah. I would say production for me is much more admin, but it's always just organizational skills and just making sure you have all the information. Most of the time, communication's the best thing because everyone has to be on board with like a certain what's going on, to be honest. With directing, I found that it's more of, I have my creative hat on. I can really think about visually and aesthetically how I want the film to look. And obviously you do speak to producers because they're the ones that tell you, no, you can't do that, or no, it's too expensive. As a director now, I kind of still have a little bit, like I would say I have my director hat on with my, this is gonna be so cringy, but my producer boots on as well, because I immediately know like, oh, how can I navigate this to get what I want? Or just having those two worlds collide, the more knowledge, the better. So as a director, it's knowing how to navigate and speak to producers and just have that common ground and common understanding to make the best project it can be. I work for Misfits full-time now as producer assistant, but I'm leaving. But this time last year, 3 months ago, I applied through my first job in film as work experience. Just like most people, I've applied and, maybe you're not the right fit, or maybe, you need more experience and whatnot. But Misfits, yeah, they took a chance on me through my CV and just my application as a whole. So I did the work experience. It was 20 days part-time and, it ended like it does. And I would say that I went in there not expecting a job, but I went in there to just gain as much knowledge as I can, gain as much experience and use that for wherever the future takes me. After my experience with my first job in film, I actually got another job as a production assistant at a commercial production company, just based off my experience and my CV from adding Misfits. And then 3 weeks later, after that job, Misfits called me and was like, we really enjoyed your time with us and we should have said it when you left, but we're here saying it now that we would like you to come back to us full time. And I had worked there and I enjoyed my time so much. And I just thought to myself, yeah, it's an opportunity I can't pass up. So that's how I technically got into production. So I've dibbled and dabbled in like film production, commercials, music videos. But yeah, that's how I got to Misfit. It is anything and everything. I always have this saying, well, it's not a saying, loads of people say it. It's crossing those bridges once you get there. You never know what task is going to be thrown at you from day to day, but it's as long as you have your thinking hat on and you just think of how to overcome those obstacles. But day to day, it's booking in meetings, sitting in calls, taking notes. I read scripts very often and I produce script reports, and that kind of helps me as a filmmaker and one day, hopefully an aspiring writer, and how scripts are written and the proper format and how they're structured and character arcs and whatnot. And it really helps me just soak in a lot of information without having to feel overwhelmed, because it is part of my job. And I think sometimes it's stepping outside of my role as well and then being like, oh, but I am also a filmmaker. So how do these processes happen? And luckily I'm in a place where they're not greedy or stingy with information. Like they always share a lot of stuff with me because, a lot of people are in this industry to be a filmmaker at the end of the day. So it's like passing on that knowledge from, the producers to the production assistants to even like the runners and whatnot. That's kind of my day to day, and just like booking in. I know it sounds very boring and very laborious, but when you're around like in a meeting where they're discussing budgets or they're just discussing casting and locations and whatnot, that is priceless information that is right there. Like, of course I'm in a meeting taking notes, but that information is also being shared to you as well. So don't ever think it's just admin or you're just doing the boring things, because there's so much you can take from that. I would say sometimes timing when you're in the film industry, well, most of the time you're speaking to people from all different walks of life. They live in different time zones. Like I've had to schedule times with Thailand, Australia, New Zealand, and the UK and the US all in one call. I think that's the most difficult thing, because you're always trying to make sure that people can do it within their work hours, but you quickly realize, oh, that's impossible. Like New Zealand, I think it's like 12, 13 hours ahead of us. So I think that was the most difficult thing for me to kind of get my head around. But then when you have those difficult obstacles, it's so essential that you learn from them and you know the best way to overcome them the next next time you run into them, because you always will. It's never just a one-stop shop. Like, you will always run into it again. So it's really great to learn from that. And what I learned from that is, on the side of my computer, I have different time zones for the people that we speak with. So immediately I know that, okay, 9 a.m. in LA is 5 p.m. in London. That is information that I never thought I would know off the top of my head, but I do. And it's because it is essential to, let people know the correct times that they're meeting for something, because some meetings take months to prepare. I would also say one of the most difficult things that was difficult for me, but it's actually helped me, is just talking to people and just being able to communicate with people from all walks of life and communicate with them in a proper manner, like a professional manner. I was very shy going into it, especially because you have so many people, like, you look up to so many people and they all are so good at their jobs and they know what they're doing. But it really my confidence skyrocketed after a while. Like, I don't think I would ever be able to do something like this like 6-7 months ago. So it's really improved my confidence and me as a human being. So it even transcends outside of work. It transcends into like your day-to-day life and how you speak to people too. So that was difficult to begin with, and that kind of struggling with that imposter syndrome. But quickly, when you do your job great and you have people that are in your corner that want you to learn, that imposter syndrome quickly disappears, really. In all honesty, it's like the little things for me. When I sort something out, I am the designated IT person now, because I've just dealt with so many issues. I kind of just know what's wrong with something and how to fix it. It's just the day-to-days, really, like sorting out the meeting room if something's wrong, sorting out a call that I've been trying to sort out for months. And finally, after the call, it's happened. And I have that little celebration inside me that's like, oh God, that I've been trying to book that for 3 months and now it's happened. If you don't find the beauty in the day-to-day of what you complete and your accomplishments every day, then it becomes laborious. Like, the days are longer. You're trying to aspire to a goal that is great, but you should also be kind on yourself and celebrate your accomplishments, even the small ones. That's what I find great. I just find it like, once I finish the day and everyone's gone home and I'm... Well, just to say this, I used to run a Misfits work experience through my first job in film. So it's like very full circle of being part of applying for the work experience and now running it. I can say firsthand, like, the applications that come into my first job in film are amazing and great. But the advice I would give you is that working for film, you have to be like very passionate about it, because it's not easy. Like, the glitz and glamour comes a long way away. Like, it comes ages away. So it's really great for us to know that you're actually passionate about working here, even if it is just as a work experience. So my advice would be, cater your cover letters to where you're applying for. I know it's so boring and I know it's so laborious to like just write cover letter after cover letter, but honestly, it sets you apart from the crowd, because when somebody just mentions Misfits in their cover letter, I'm like, oh, like, what do they have to say about it? Did they watch McQueen? Did they watch Rising Phoenix? What is about Misfits that they're applying for? I think becoming more personal, not too personal, but becoming personal on your applications sets people apart. Another piece of advice is, when I used to apply for stuff through my first job in film, they used to give them feedback. And it's really important that you take that feedback into consideration, because it's being sent for a reason. And when I started applying the emails that I got from the jobs, unfortunately, I didn't get, I started to think about things differently and be also intentional with the things I'm applying for. I used to apply for anything and everything because I just wanted a foot in. And I see that with some people who apply, but I'm like, oh no, you don't want to be a production assistant. I think you want to be like a cinematographer, or you want to be a camera assistant. So you immediately know that the person who's applying for it is just applying because they want a leg in. But it's like, I think it will be best that you apply for something that's more catered to your passions and what you aspire to be, instead of just being in the film industry. And I think if you take the time to, apply for the things that you actually want, I think that will show in your application no matter what.